Welcome, welcome, welcome to the SubHub podcast. I'm MK Sullivan.
And I'm Dani Moreno. And today we are going to kind of clean house before we dive into June. As you saw in the title of this episode, we did have a great sit down interview with Hayden Hawks, of course, virtually. But we do want to catch up on a couple of other things before we dive into, that very insightful interview. So, first things first, MK, big weekend coming up. What do you want to tell the folks?
Big weekend coming up. I am racing for the first time since I found out I was pregnant. Not the first
Nice.
time since I was pregnant, but first time since I found out I'm racing the Silver State half marathon this weekend out on the trails. It's a local classic here in Reno. I did find out that Helen Mino Faulkner is signed up, so I will be throwing the boxing gloves on and we will be duking it out in the Reno heat. I'm gonna have to wear so much ice because it starts at like 8 a.m. and I have been waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning just to like get out of the heat because I get so hot these days. But we're doing it. I figured why not? I've never run Silver State and it's like an old iconic race like in the Western States world, and so it's my time to finally run it for the 40th anniversary, no less.
What is
So
its tie to Western states?
I don't think it ever used to be a golden ticket race, but a lot of people used to use it as a tune-up race for Western States because it is usually held in like second week of May, so that's like what, 6 weeks out from Western States, and it's at altitude. It can be pretty hot and dry, and so it's like a pretty good tune-up. But unfortunately, not used in that way as often anymore. But like I know Tim Tollefson did that a couple of times, Casey Leipzig, a lot of other like, Western States legends.
That's cool. And which part
Yeah.
of like Reno and what are the trails like?
They are very deserty. So it's like the north of Reno, over by the university, we have this big mountain called Peavine Peak, and it just goes all over those trails. And it's funny because when I was coaching at Nevada and I used to recruit, athletes and stuff, I would tell them about these trails because we're so lucky to have them like right across the street from the university. And I'd be like, yeah, there's a 50-mile race, like, that happens on this mountain, and you touch like maybe 2 miles worth of the same trail in this 50-mile race. It's super cool. And I think that just is like a cool description of like the depth of trails that we have in Reno, but like they're pretty unexplored because I feel like so many of us just have like our routes that we stick to, but it's a very cool course. I think you summit in the 50 miler Peavine three times, and then in the 50K twice. Well, not quite summit, but you get close. And then in the half marathon, you do not summit, thank God, because I think I would not make it to the top.
Got to save those legs for Broken Arrow, right?
Exactly. Yeah, because it is about if you take the, straight way up, it's like 3,200 feet to the top of Peavine or something. So I don't need two VKs this month.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's super cool. Maybe we can bring it back if we both end up doing Western States in the next
Yeah,
couple of years.
it'd
Great
be a
little
great
tune-up.
training race. Yeah, so hot.
Yeah, and I'm guessing exposed. Like
Very.
base.
There's like one section on the backside where there are trees. But even still they're like baby aspens. They're not big, big trees. So you're out in the sun pretty much all day.
Dang. Well, that's
Yeah.
sick. All right, folks. So if you're out at Silver State, you're about to witness an incredible battle between Helena Faulkner and MK Sullivan this Saturday.
It's going down.
It's
And
going down.
but you're also racing this weekend.
Yeah, we're both racing. What?
I feel like we both randomly kind of last minute signed up for stuff too.
Yeah. GoPro was like one that was kind of on my mind on and off. I wasn't sure like if it was quite gonna fit with the amount of time I had. And then finally, my coach Tom and I just like really sat down and it's like, let's make a decision. And the decision is I'm racing, but it is like more of a training stimulus. So like I'm not tapering this week because that was my biggest concern. I was like, I feel like I just need one more biggish week, for based on where I'm at. And he's like, yeah, I couldn't agree more. So let's do both in like a very thoughtful and intentional way. And so yeah, just keeping the schedule mostly the same. We'll do like Friday, I think is really easy. The race is on Sunday. And then after the race on Sunday, I'll do like a little couple more pickups because the race, I don't know, I've done it a couple of times. it is a great tune-up in my opinion because it's short and fast, but the course is always different. And last year was 5 miles, which I'm like, what? It's not a 10K, homies. But
That's
I don't.
fast.
That's fast. The men ran like 30-ish minutes or something like that. That was crazy. But yeah, I'm really excited to get out there. It is a Terex event now. And yeah, just put the bib on one more time before Broken Arrow. And admittedly, like I would say like my gears going uphill are, there's not a lot of gears right now. So I think it'll be good to like force some turnover going up. And Joshua and Small will be out there. The Hemmings, I don't think are racing, but they're going to come out and support. So it'll be nice. Just hang out and stuff.
Yeah, sometimes it's just good to like hammer your heart rate like higher than feel like you're able to in practice just to remember what that feels like. I'm sure that's why, like Jim Walmsley, like doing the VK last year, it works
Yeah.
great because it's just like a reminder, like, oh, my heart can do that.
Yeah, especially at altitude, because I was
Yeah,
thinking, I was like, normally in my trail season, the first part of the year, I do drop down and get that like extra oomph. But I've just been like, all my races are freaking altitude this year. So
perfect.
I don't get that magic though of like dropping down. So I'm like, I feel like GoPro will be good enough for, like you said, it's like the heart comes out of the body. It's like, okay, we're gonna be okay, you know?
I can feel
Yeah.
this in my throat, and I
I can
remember
feel this
how it
inside.
feels
Yes,
now.
yes, yes. This is where you're supposed to go, Danny. So yeah, I'm excited just to lace up the shoes and stuff again. And then I'll come home and then next up will be Broken Arrow before we know it.
Love that. It is coming up pretty fast. It's June, well, it'll be like June 6th by the time this episode comes out, but just a handful more weeks before we're both out at Broken Arrow trying to qualify for separate teams.
Yeah, definitely.
Uh,
I really want that red, white, blue ticket.
yeah, those are sick.
Those are so sick.
Speaking of red, white, and blue
Speaking of which,
tickets.
oh, I saw that transition too. Go
Oh
ahead. Tell the
man,
folks.
yeah.
Hit them
If
up.
you guys missed it this weekend, what were you doing? There was a national championship and US team qualifier that happened out at Sunapee Scramble in New Hampshire this last weekend. And Danny and I were on the live stream with James of the Steep Stuff Pod. It was awesome.
Dude, I like finished that pod or not that pod, that live stream and was thinking to myself, we're a pretty good team. I felt like we all like brought good information and yeah, like really balanced each other out. So yeah, shout out to James. That was super fun doing the live stream with him. And shout out to Paul, Kirsch and Tom Hooper for helping put that live stream on in those crazy conditions. Like it was really tough. They did really tried to check all the boxes with Starlink and stuff like that. But as we know, the New England weather is just always in control. So yeah, everyone who helped with that live stream just it was super fun.
Yeah. And so this is our first short trail US team that has been named. We already had the long trail happen back in April at Gorges. So this was the classic mountain team, which in Spain is like a 9.5 mile race with, I think it was like 3,200 feet a gain. No, it was 2,800 feet a gain, something like that. It's two loop course. So Sunapee was like the perfect race for it. And our team that we are sending to Spain in September on the women's side is Anna Gibson, who is also your national champion in the event. Lauren Gregory, Allie McLaughlin, they were top three at Sunapee. Grayson Murphy gets an automatic spot, as we talked about last week, for being the world champion. And then on the men's side, David Norris, who we did not preview because we were unaware that he was on the elite list. But David Norris won the whole thing, is your national champion. Mason Copey was second, Taylor Stack was third, and Cam Smith was fourth. And so that will be your men's classic mountain team for the US in Spain.
Yeah, and both races were just absolutely incredible. On the women's side, Anna Gibson smashed the Zagama US Championship double. And today I was like thinking of something. I was like, I think it's too soon, but I'm just gonna put it out there. If Anna is racing Sierra Zanal, I'm calling she's going to be on the podium this year. I just think
Yeah.
like she is firing on all cylinders, and I'm so happy it appeared her travel was smooth because I was really nervous because shit like that happens all the time to athletes. And watching her stories and stuff, it just seemed like she did the right thing. She rested. She only ran a couple days before the race, And then the race was just like smooth, cool, calculated, and executed just like a phenomenal race that got her in first place. So yeah, if you haven't already, again, check out that live stream. Like watching her crest the second hill in the second loop, she just was, I was like, this girl's gonna be on the podium.
Yeah.
Second,
Well,
yeah,
and so just a note on that. She was sixth place at Sears and All last year in her debut.
yeah.
So that should tell you guys enough about like,
Yeah, well, that's what I was thinking of. I'm like, I
yeah.
hope she's doing it this year because like it that like Sierra now is so much of like being patient on climbs and
Hmm.
also when you transition. And watching
Yep.
her transition, I was just like, I just
It's over.
I would love to see her win. I just want to like respect the prestigiousness of this race,
Yeah.
and it's always super stacked. But I was like, I feel safe calling she's gonna be on the podium. So second place, Lauren Gregory, coming off an injury. My favorite quote from her post race was, got the job done, which is like, I think just like a testament that she knows how this works. It's like her job was to get on the team and she did what she had to do that. And so, like, signed, sealed, delivered.
Yeah. Lauren is such a goofy gal in
She's
general.
so
I loved
funny.
when she was being interviewed or when we were interviewing her. She's just like so nonchalant about the whole
Yeah.
thing. But
Yeah.
yeah,
It's huge. It's huge getting second place.
yeah. And then on the men's side, we had a day that changed pretty much all like the whole race. Like there
Yeah.
was never a point until probably the final descent, like when they reached the top, that it was like, oh, okay, this person's going to win now. But David Norris came out and showed that his Mount Marathon legs were prepared for the New Hampshire ups and downs. And I mean, that's what it took. Mason, but it was crazy because David Norris, Mason Copey, and Taylor Stack finished within,
Eight
what would you say,
seconds.
8 seconds of each other.
Yeah.
Like, what?
Yeah, it was crazy. Watching the live stream, them, both the men's and women's, like coming through the first lap, you could just tell they're sprinting, but the men were just slightly closer than the women. And the women like opened up a little bit more relative, but the men, as soon as that finished, it was like boom, boom, boom. So yeah, and if you guys want to know more about David Norris, we did just put out a new Subhub headlines where we did send him some interview questions. Yeah, this men's team, I'm very, very, very excited about. And yeah, Cam Smith rounding out the team, again, coming off of injury and such. And then Andy Walker was so close. I will say, too, one more thing on the women's side is like a testament to both like Andy Wacker and Courtney Coppinger. Those are the alternates. If they had made the team would still like, I mean, it just was so deep on both sides. Like those are like probably the best alternates in the world, which is
Yeah,
crazy. Yeah.
damn. Well, yeah, if you guys missed it, I'm pretty sure it's up on YouTube as a replay.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, you can check out I think it's just 603 Endurance. We forgot to mention Allie McLaughlin really quick, like
oh
making
yeah,
another
sorry.
team. She absolutely smashed it. Was
This was her
only
eighth team.
eighth team, and
Yeah,
she similarly 8 seconds behind Lauren,
yeah.
like so close. And then I'll sneak one more in there, but big, big, big shout out to Rena Schwartz, like a name we did not preview, and she was in the mix all day. She will be one to watch in the future. She's currently on the trail team. So yeah, just really cool seeing the. It's weird to call her the younger talent because they're all like 20 something. But Rena Schwartz and Mason Copey are like the younger of the next gen. So really cool to see them all in there. Yeah.
Yeah. And if you guys were out at Sunapee Scramble, or if you weren't out at Sunapee Scramble and you're getting ready for Broken Arrow, later this month, and you want to try Never Second because they were out on that course and they will be out on on the Broken Arrow course as well, then make sure you guys go to neversecond.com and use our code SUBHUB25 to get 25% off on your order. I am curious, like because we talked about, our like what we would do in terms of fueling for that race. And I just feel like I overdid it. I overdid it on the carbs with how intense those downhills were. Yeah, I think I maybe would change my ways a little bit and I would be shooting for like 50 to 70 grams of carbs on the way up and nothing on the downs.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It is interesting because I didn't see one person eating. that entire race. And I don't even know if I saw belts on anybody. Like I saw people grabbing water after the first lap. Um, but yeah, I would agree. I would just caffeinate the whole time, just like four
Just
gels.
be buzzing.
Yeah, be fussing and just hyper focus. But yeah, just huge, huge, huge shout out to Never Second. Sometimes we see these nutrition brands come into the space and they're so ultra focused, which like we totally get it. You're out there for a long period of time and you got to eat. But seeing Never Second partner with Centipede Scramble, Broken Arrow, and then also Cannon Mountain coming up for the Cirque series, it
Yeah.
just shows you that they understand that like this sport is more than just ultras. It's all the distances, and no matter how far you're going, how intense you're running, like you gotta eat. So yeah, just really, really big shout out to them for that.
Absolutely. Should we talk about our guest a little bit?
Yes, definitely. Let's talk about our guest. So, as we mentioned to you guys, this is a long intro for him, but Hayden Hawks is here to join the pod today. And Hayden reached out to us right after, maybe just like a day after, he announced that he would be no longer participating in this year's Western States 100 endurance run. And you might be asking, Dani, EmKay, Hayden, it doesn't run sub ultras. Like, why is he on this podcast? Well, you guys, Hayden is not only one of the most versatile athletes on the planet, also coming from a track background, but we think his message about, or just like insights about injury applies to everyone. And as more people get involved in this sport, not just like at the top end, but at all levels, like injury freaking happens. And while it sucks, there shouldn't be like a negative stigma around it. And so we talk a lot about that with Hayden.
And for those of you who don't know who Hayden Hawks is,
Yeah,
he
yeah.
is he's an athlete for Hoka based in Utah. Just this last year, we won't even get into like his whole background
His whole
because he's
career.
got
Yeah.
a lot of accolades. But just in 2024, he won Black Canyon 100K in a new CR, was third at Western States, and he won CCC in like a pretty dominant fashion for the day. But yeah, as Dani said, he recently dropped out of this year's Western States, which is unfortunate, but we are so glad that he came on to talk injury with us.
Yeah. And just to like highlight that versatility, I mean, he won Tarawera 50K earlier this year, was second at Julian Alps 50K end of last year to no other than Francesco Pupi, and has also been a previous Canyons Endurance 50K runner. So, yeah, we hope you guys enjoy this episode. I think EmKay and I both finished it and we're like, wow, like everyone is going to be, we think you guys are really going to enjoy it. Welcome, Hayden Hawks.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, thank you. Glad to be on here. I think we got a lot of cool things we can talk about today, as we've all dealt with injury and different things like that. And yeah, I'm just grateful that you guys have me on again.
Yeah, the last time we had you on was to help us preview the men's OCC field, which was funny because then you went on to absolutely crush CCC, and we got to be like, well, we had the winner of CCC on our podcast, so
Well,
um,
I got a bit lucky that day. So no,
oh,
I had a good time. It was awesome. I was having so much fun out there, and that's kind of I we'll probably talk about that more today, but it's just like I think when you go into races with just that attitude, that positive attitude that you're just going to go out there and have fun and enjoy. And like I was joking, I was like talking to the cameraman. I was having such a good time. I had zero expectations of what I was going to do out there. And yeah, it all came together. And like it's just incredible. Like I think that's a mindset that I had last year that maybe I lost a little bit at the beginning of this year. And hopefully I think this injury has brought me back to that where I'm thinking about things a little bit differently.
yeah, I think we can all get into a cycle of convincing ourselves that, we should be enjoying this because it's something we enjoy to do, but then also making it a little bit too serious occasionally. And that's when a lot of us get in trouble. But you've mentioned you are injured. Just last week, you announced that you will unfortunately not be racing the Western States 100 this year because you decided to undergo surgery to clean up your meniscus, which is what you have had surgery on previously, right?
No, Completely
Okay, so
different.
this is a completely different knee thing.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
yeah.
tell us about like why you made this decision and yeah, we'll go from there.
Yeah, yeah. So previous injury I had on my left knee was actually to remove a bone spur that I had, underneath my patellar tendon. And I had Osgood-Slaughter when I was a kid, and had it really bad. I had to wear like braces on my knee and stuff when I was younger, when I was running. And unfortunately, that developed like a pretty good like bone spur or like a calcium deposit underneath my patellar tendon that I had fought for years. And just like, I think just with wear and tear and different things like that, like it got worse as I got older, and I had to go in and get that removed. It all kind of was spurred on by a fall that I had at Western States that year, which actually fractured that spur. They ended up removing that spur, and that knee has been great. Like I haven't had any problems in that knee. There was a super successful surgery. I did a lot of rehab, different things like that, coming back from that. Worked probably harder on the rehab than I actually do in training. And yeah, it all worked out really good. And honestly, it was probably one of the best decisions I've ever made in my career to like take care of myself in that situation, because I had pushed through it for a while, and like actually taking the time to like take care of myself, do what I needed to do to come, to be at my best and my strongest was such a good thing, because that led to 2024, where, you mentioned before I was Ultra Runner of the Year. I had probably one of the best years of my career, and it was because I was healthy. Well, come to this year, I got a bit greedy, to be completely honest with you. Um, I had such a good year in 2024. I started to kind of get a bit greedy with my training, thinking like 2024 went great. I was in that sweet spot I felt in 2024 with my training, with everything. And I thought maybe if I add just a little bit more, I could be even better. We know that that's not always the case. There's a sweet spot that everybody needs to be in, that your body just feels good in mentally, physically, in all aspects. Well, I got greedy. I started pushing. I got influenced by some outside sources that we can talk about. And I just, yeah, I ended up overtraining a bit, doing a little too much, pushing through signs that my body was giving me, like, hey, you need to stop, you need to slow down, you need to, be careful. Signs that my coach was giving me. I pushed through those, didn't listen to him. And I ended up developing another injury, an overuse injury. Now, this current injury, it might have been a blessing in disguise, because there was an underlying issue that was going on that I didn't know about, that I had actually been dealing with for years as well. But doing a bit of overtraining caused my meniscus to flare up. Um, I At first we thought it was just muscular. We started going through all the soft tissue, working things, trying to figure out what it was. And then I had a friend who was like, we went out to lunch together, and he's like, hey, have you gotten an MRI on this? It could be something else. And I said, no, I haven't got one yet. And he said, I would encourage you to get an MRI. So I next day went down to the MRI center, got an MRI, found out that I had a meniscus problem, that my meniscus had some fraying on it, and it was from wear and tear, just probably a bit of compensation from the left knee. So this is the right knee that I'm dealing with now. And also, I've been doing this for 20 years, running, and there was a bit of fraying. There was what the doctor explained to be like a hangnail, or like a little flap that was on my meniscus, and that flap was getting caught in between my femur and my tibia, and it was causing a lot of inflammation. It was causing a lot of pain every time like I would take a step on it or I would load it. And that was causing all the other muscles, my adductor, my VMO, all these other muscles that support the knee, to kind of guard it. And they would all lock up to guard it. And I couldn't run. It was completely debilitating. Well, the doctor, I met with like a really good sports med doctor who I trust, and he gave me some options and said, hey, we can try anti-inflammatories on it, see if that calms it down, you know, be on top of your mobility, be on top of your strength work, which I was. And he said, and that might be able to get you through Western States, and or we can do surgery on it. and go in there, remove that flap, which should take care of all your problems. You should heal in 4 to 6 weeks, and you'll be back running strong and healthy. And I went with the anti-inflammatory route first, trying to see if I could save Western States. It didn't work. It it didn't, it didn't work. And so I went back to the doctor, said, "Hey man, this isn't working. What should we do?" And he said, "Well, you have to make a choice. If we do the surgery now, you'll miss Western States, but you could potentially be back for UTMB in a fall season, and you could take care of this problem." And I had to make that choice, and I decided to make that choice to take care of myself because I know how important that is, and I know what it did for me before, and I know that this will be a career changer, and I'll be able to come back from this even stronger because I'll be healthy, and health is everything in this sport. And yeah, I decided to make that call, and I got surgery 5 days ago on it. It was clean, it was professional, it was quick surgery. I'm already recovering at a faster rate than we thought. And it was honestly a blip. It's a small period of time where I have to take some rest, but it's going to allow me to have years and years and years of doing this, what I love to do, and it's going to make me a better athlete. So it's completely worth it.
Thank you for sharing all of that. There's so much I want to do follow-up questions on.
Sorry,
Um,
that was a bit long, but
no, no, it was perfect. It was perfect. It answered a lot of questions. A couple things I want to call out, like the getting greedy. That was kind of one of the first themes that you touched upon, and I mean, I think a lot of us in this space, no matter where you are in the pack, can relate to that. Like when you have like that breakout race, you're like, okay, I finally made it to my goal. And then you're like, so how can I get even to the next level? And as someone who is currently coming out of um, injury, I was actually getting a little emotional when you were talking about that because I felt that like so deep in myself because I also attribute like part of a large part of me getting injured to getting greedy. So yeah, thank you just for being so vulnerable with that. Something we wanted to dive into is you touched upon like outside influences, and I was wondering if you could explain that a little bit more.
yeah, I think, like you said, we all have these tendencies to get greedy and be impatient. We want results now, and we don't necessarily look at the future. We don't look at this long term. Like, this injury has opened up my mind so much to not only my career, long-term career, but long-term as a dad and as a person who wants to have adventures in life and be able to do things for years and years to come. I'm only 34 years old. I'm still pretty young. If I don't take care of myself now, could this lead to other injuries or other problems or wear and tears that then I'm going to have to go through these same things in the future? And I'm not going to have the ability to go for backpacking trips with my kids, or I'm not going to have the health to be able to go and do what I want to do after this career is done. So you have to look at that as well, and you have to be patient. The results will come as you sit in that sweet spot. And as when you find that sweet spot, it doesn't mean you need to do more. No, you need to ride that wave in that sweet spot. We want to reduce these massive peaks and these massive valleys in our training. Like, yes, we have these massive amounts of these peaks where we do these high volume, but a lot of those times, if you're out of that sweet spot, can lead to these big valleys where you have to take massive amounts of time off. First of all, you lose fitness during those, but second off, it just sucks to be down in there and not be able to do anything. Like, believe me, I've been sitting at home on the couch having to recover for the last 6 I haven't ran in 6 weeks. And I want more than anything to be out on the trails. I see Instagram and people running, and it's just like, man, I just want to be there because I love it. I absolutely love being outdoors and being active. But you have to be patient, not get greedy, and find that sweet spot and stay in that sweet spot and ride that wave. And I found that last year. And a lot of that was lowering my volume, my running volume, doing a little bit more cross training, doing more strength training, doing more mobility work, using those hours that I wasn't running to use those hours and do things that were actually making me a better athlete and keeping me healthy. And I had an amazing career. I was health or a year. I was healthy. I was happy. I was enjoying life with my family, and I was not fatigued and tired all the time. I was tired every now and then, but I was like in a really good spot. And I think like yeah, we have to learn to like to stay there and be okay with it and accept that that's where we need to be. And that if somebody else is doing more than you, it doesn't mean that they're going to be better than you. Like if you have balance and you're in your good spot, you could still beat them on race day. I mean, case in point, CCC last year. I looked at some of the guys' trainings that I was running against, not all of them, but some of their training, and I was doing like half the amount of volume as a lot of those guys. But I was also doing strength work and mobility and doing all these other things. And I ended up beating all of them at CCC, doing less volume than they were doing. But I was balanced and I was happy and I was in a good spot. This year, I got influenced, to be honest with you. I started looking at Western States and I started looking at the field with Killian and Jim and, so and so. And I was like, man, I got to do more. If I'm going to beat someone like Jim, I got to do more. I saw Jim's race at Chianti where he just crushed everyone and was like, man, how am I going to beat that? Oh, I got to do more. And I started chasing numbers, which is never a good thing. I started pushing through signs and thoughts that I had in my brain that were saying, hey, you need to back off. You don't need to be doing this. My coach was warning me, hey, man, this can come back to bite you. And I pushed through it. And it did come back to bite me. But I was influenced by social media, by results from other people, by looking too much into people's Strava and training and not doing what I needed to do, thinking I had to do more because so and so was doing this, which Jim doesn't even post on Strava. I had no idea what Jim was even doing, but I had come up with these thoughts in my mind that he was running 150-mile weeks and that I needed to do that because I know he's done that in the past. But who knows? Jim might have lowered his volume and that's why he's crushing it. But you know how it is. We're easily influenced and I'm usually not that way. I'm usually a pretty down to earth, pretty just level-headed, steady guy. But we can all, fall into traps sometimes and we just got to catch ourselves before we go too far.
This is a great topic because I feel like Danny and I talk about this all the time, just like the Strava problem. Like we all have so much access to each other now that it's so easy to look at other people's training and think like, oh my God, I'm not doing anything. Like, and I'm, same way where I feel like I'm really good at not comparing my training to other people, but I've definitely had to mute plenty of people on Strava so that I don't see what they're doing every day. Not necessarily because I'm like, wow, I should be doing that, but I'm like, I can't stop watching this train wreck. But it's like, yeah, so pervasive. So, were you doing more than what was prescribed by your coach? Like, how is this kind of coming about, where your coach was like, hey, man, you've got to stop?
Yeah, sorry, Robbie. So my coach is Robbie Britton. He's an excellent coach. He keeps me accountable. He's really on top of things, but I'm also a grown man and I make my own decisions. And he's told me that. He's like, I can't, you're a grown man. You have to make your own decisions. Like I can tell you numerous times that you need to stop doing it, but that's your choice. And I have the agency to make those choices. And yes, I got greedy and also I was down in New Zealand. It wasn't New Zealand. It was that I was in a place where it was warm and I was like, I want to explore and see things and do this. And I just wasn't doing what I needed to be doing. Yes, Robbie was telling me, hey man, you need to do less, stay in the training that I have prescribed you. Because he prescribes amazing training. Case in point, last year, I followed everything Robbie did last year. One of the reasons was I was coming off an injury and I kind of had to, but also I trust him and honestly, like I had to apologize to him and be like, dude, I'm sorry. And he's like, well, now you have to live with the consequences. And I'm a coach and I tell my athletes the same thing. And I would never prescribe, what I was doing to them. But then I did it myself, and we fall into those traps. Sometimes we think we're invincible, and sometimes we get influenced, or, we get distracted, and we just can't fall into those things. And so, yeah, again, I'm very sorry to Robbie, and I've told him that numerous times, but listen to your coaches. Like, most of the time, they know what they're talking about. And you need to trust your coach. You need to really lean into what they say. If you're hiring them and you're paying them, you need to trust them. And I would say, if you don't trust your coach, then find a coach that you can trust, because that is going to help you. And especially for people like me, like, I tend to overdo it. I don't ever underdo it. I've never done that in my career. I overdo it. So that's why I hired a coach in the first place, is for somebody to rein me in, because I could coach myself easily. But I hired Robbie because I trust him, I believe in him. He's got the experience, and also he can rein me in. But then I need to practice what I preach. And, I completely am guilty of that. And, but you live and you learn. And honestly, I can't go back. I can only get better from this and learn from this. And so that's what I've made, the promise to do now.
Amen. It is kind of interesting being in the sport now. I mean, you've been a professional for more than a handful of years, but I do think we're all starting and potentially are making ourselves more susceptible to injury because we're all willing to play with that line a little bit more because everything's getting faster and everyone's getting stronger. Everyone has access to like so much more information. There's actually like backed up science now for the sports that we're doing. So I'm glad. I think you have a really well balanced mindset about this. I think it's just so tough though, like you said, like when you're in it. So it's cool that you're already formulating like this belief system. Because yeah, there is lessons to learn from all
Yeah,
the
and I would
lulls and the
say,
holes that we get in.
I'd say also, like, build a team around you of people that you trust that can keep you accountable. If you know
Yeah.
you have the tendencies to fall into those traps, and like you said, in the moment, sometimes your brain's not working properly and you don't think about those things. I'd say, one, listen to the things that do come to mind, because your body and your mind they'll tell you things, and you need to, like, learn from that and trust that instinct or that intuition. But also putting a team around you. Like, I've told Robbie this, I've told my wife this, I told my parents this, like, hey guys, I need your help. Hold me accountable. If you see that I'm veering off a little bit and maybe trying to do too much, and because my wife knows where the sweet spot is, and she knows when I'm fatigued to the max and tired and just not happy and not fun to be around. I said, you need to tell me, hold me accountable, help me. Say, hey, you're doing too much. You need to calm down. And Robbie, the same thing, and my friends and my mentors. And I think if you can have those things, of course, it is your job to be accountable and to be disciplined enough. And I can be that way. I can choose to be that way. But also having a team to remind you every now and then can help as well.
Yeah.
Definitely. I mean, I think there's like a decent amount of research out there too that like trusting the training, trusting the coach, like is, a much larger part than we probably give it you know, its due for. So
My best performances have come when I don't even have to think,
exactly.
when I just keep my brain out of it and I just do what's prescribed and I just have fun and I'm balanced. I can do other things with my kids and just enjoy my life, because I'm not overthinking things and I'm not trying to think too much into things. Like, I'm a fan of other sports, and I look at, like, Scotty Scheffler, who just won the PGA championship. I actually look up to him quite a bit because he's such a down to earth person. Like, I saw this interview that they interviewed one of his training partners or his friends that golfs with him a lot. And he said, like, what's the difference between Scotty and other people? And the friend was like, Scotty is just, he doesn't let anything get to him. He doesn't overthink things. He's like, he just goes out there and he has fun and he plays and he loves his family and he loves his son and he just is out there enjoying it and like in the moment. And He's not like overthinking every little fine detail of his game. He's just going and doing and trusting in what he knows he's good at. And he said, yeah, he's a competitor and he can get into that mindset, and I can do that too. But I think there's an importance of just like relaxing and chilling and being able to be calm under pressure and just realize that like, man, this is so fun and enjoyable, and we can like be that way and just be calm and like not let things get to us so much. And I think like a lot of the time when I have no expectations, when my mind is like not so dialed in and focused on things is when I do my best.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I will say too, to the point of like coaching and training, I'll do one little asterisk caveat for the folks out there is also like learning what your internal signals are. So like Hayden said, there were signs that he was ignoring, and personally, I felt that too, where I was like, wow, you shouldn't cry on long runs. That probably meant you were really freaking tired. One time maybe okay, but multiple times in a training block, that is a clear sign that we should pay attention to. So that's when you also communicate to your coach as well, right? Like, yes,
Yep.
put a lot of trust into your coach's training, but they're also putting trust into you to communicate like how you're feeling. So yeah, just one caveat there.
Yeah, and just to be real, like I'll be pretty frank with you with this. Like signs that are given, and this is probably from women and men, is like you're fatigued all the time and you just want to sleep and be tired. Your sex drive goes down a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And, that's definitely something that happens with me. And like you need to be aware of those things, knowing that like, hey, I'm overdoing it. I'm tired. I'm fatigued. Like, I need to calm down a bit. Like, my appetite goes away, different things like that. And those are all like big signs of like, yeah, this is too much.
yeah,
Yeah. I
definitely.
think a lot of the times, especially like with women, people get into the thought pattern. And Danny, you may have been in this thought pattern where you're like, well, I'm still having a period, so like I'm fine.
Totally. Yeah. Or I blamed it on the period. I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
just in my menstrual cycle, but
But
yeah,
there are other signs, like Hayden said, like you're exhausted, your
yeah,
appetite's different, you're crying on long runs every single time, you gotta pay attention to your body.
You're grumpy.
you're
That's
Ugh,
another
grumpy.
so
thing is like,
grumpy.
I'm
Yeah,
a pretty happy, positive guy. Like, this is who I am. Like, I'm a social guy. I love being around. I'm usually the life of the party, but it's like, when I'm overtraining, I'm not that way. I don't want to
yeah,
be around anybody. I don't even want to be around, like, be social. And like, I get a bit grumpy and I'm on edge where, like, little things just trigger me and just stop. I'm annoyed, and I don't want to be that way. Like, who wants to be that way? Like, life is so amazing and like, no one wants to live that way. Like, not just training, but like life. You don't want to be that way?
totally. Yeah, I think to your point, identifying like who am I when I am balanced. And it sounds like you're the same. MK and I are also very social butterflies. We love being around friends. It's like wanting to be around people and like being present, I think is a huge one to your point. Like not being greedy or grumpy. To me, I get really robotic. Like my answers don't sound like I'm coming up with them. Like a different Danny is saying them when I'm really fatigued. So yeah, thank you for sharing some of those. I know
Especially with
people.
kids too. It's not fair for
Yeah.
your kids to be that way.
Yeah,
Like I love my kids to death. I do anything for my kids. I want to spend time with my kids, and my kids want to spend time with me, quality time. But
yeah,
when I'm in that zone, I can't spend quality time with them. And that's unfair to them. It's very unfair to them. It's very selfish of me. And I don't want to be a selfish person.
yeah. So we do want to ask, like, we know you've already been, learning lessons and stuff like that. And I do want to touch upon, like, it sounded like the compensation injury that happened, was that frustrating for you, considering like the previous year you had put so much work
Yeah.
into that?
Very frustrating. But to be fair, I feel like it's stepping stones. Like, I feel like I learned a lot from that first injury. And now this is me speaking after the surgery, after going through this. In the moment when I was first injured, I was very frustrated. Because I'm like, again, like, how am I getting injured again? How's this possible? I thought I was on top of things. But then, like, I was on top of the things that I had learned from that first surgery, but there were things that I was still not implementing, like proper strength training. I was doing strength training, but I was doing it halvesy. I wasn't doing it properly. There was some mobility things that I wasn't doing that I needed to be doing, and some balance things. I actually went to a biomechanics expert a couple years ago when I had this surgery to like kind of balance me out a bit because there were definitely some imbalances going on with my shoulders, with my hips, blah, blah, blah. And I went through this whole thing with him. He gave me these exercises, his breath work stuff to do to help loosen my back and my shoulder and help balance me out so that I could run more balanced. And to be completely fair with you, I got lazy, and a lot of this was probably I was too tired because I was overdoing it. And I
Mhm.
stopped. I didn't even do those things. Like I literally spent all this money to go to this expert, and then I didn't even do what he prescribed me. So
Yeah.
yes, there's things like that, right? Like they're all stepping stones. And yes, I got better after the last injury, which helped me do what I did last year. But now I'm learning even more things. And it's like this other stepping stone of like, oh wow, I can start implementing those and I can start implementing this and oh, this is proper strength training and this is how I can do sustainable training, going forward so I can have many years to come. And it's just like opened my mind. Like injuries are not always a negative. In this case, this injury is a massive positive because it's opened up my mind of just ways that I can be even better and more balanced and implement things that I maybe learned in the past and actually put them into practice so I don't get injured again. And this is going to be a career changer for me. Like, I guarantee you, I can promise you that I will come out of this even better than I was before. And that's exciting to me. And that's how I'm looking at it. I'm not looking at it in a negative way. Like, everybody's been sending me messages saying, oh, we're so sorry you can't do Western States. It's like, yeah, it sucks, I guess. But also, there's so many more races that I can do. And honestly, like, I'm not looking at it negative at all. I'm looking at this as a huge positive because I can see the potential that it's going to bring into my life and in my career.
Yeah, and it's almost like, your eyes have been open to the things that you need to do. And so in another way that's positive because it's like, well, now I know exactly like, A, B, C, and X, Y, Z are the things that are going to lead to success. And so I'm going to stay away from those other things that kind of led me to this point in the first place.
Yeah, and there's just
Um,
been little things in my career, like every injury or setback or bad race has led to something new. Like I had
yeah.
setbacks, a few 4 or 5 years ago that led to me wanting to dial in my nutrition better, which then I dialed that and I feel very confident with my nutrition. This little injury 2 years ago led me to strength training and mobility and different things like that. And now this is leading to a little bit more. I'm starting to implement breath work into my system and more sustainable training and cross training and different things like that. And it's just like, I don't know, it's so cool to see. And I think it's all part of the process. And I guarantee this won't be my last injury. I'm going to do everything I can to prevent. But this sport is hard. It's hard on the body. Like, it's not an easy thing. We put our bodies through so much stress with racing, with training, with everything, travel, all that stuff. And there's going to probably be more little flare-ups and things that I'm going to have to learn from those. And that's just part of it too. That's part of this. And like, I think we don't need to look at injuries as a negative thing or that they're not part of this sport because they are and they're always going to be part of this sport, especially as the sport progresses, like Dani talked about, and more money and more things come into the sport. There's just going to be more of that.
Yeah, no, definitely. As I sorry to keep injecting myself, but someone who is currently on my way back from injury, yeah, I it's really nice to hear this coming from you. I really look up to you as one of the runners in the sport, and like the build back already I'm having to like continue holding myself back because I'm like I need to run more. I need to run more. And the question I keep getting asked is, but are you still doing your foot exercises? but are you still balancing, Dani? You know, like from my various team that I have built around me, like, are you still taking this vitamin every day? And it's like not getting sloppy with those things that are actually the building blocks, to your
Mm.
point. Like, a big part of it and something we texted you, you know, before this was like one of the biggest things you can do for yourself for Western States, but any big race is like showing up on the line healthy. That should always be the goal. And so, how do you do that? And it is more times than not like checking all the smaller boxes, not having like super beastly mileage, super beastly vert, like doing what's best for you. And once you're on the line healthy, then it's like, okay, now you could play with, you know, every all the hard work that you put in.
Health is everything. Like if you
Health is
don't have health,
everything, guys.
no, I mean
Health
really,
is everything.
if you don't have health, you can't use the fitness that you gained. You know,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
there's no way to use it because you're compromised and like yeah you're not gonna be able to use it. And so like yeah it's just pretty interesting because people go like push their bodies to like these limits to where they're trying to like achieve this fitness that usually is kind of a false expectation in the first place. And really like how much fitness gain are you actually gonna have? You know, it might be a tiny bit, but the truth is if you don't have a health, you can't even use that extra fitness that you gained. And so it's like you're pushing yourself beyond your health, but then you can't even use it. Like it makes no sense, right? So
Yeah.
it's like finding that balance and it's like showing up to starting lines healthy. And I can tell you like now the focus is on UTMB. I might not be the fittest person at UTMB this year. Like I will be fit enough. I mean I'll have 10 to 12 weeks most likely to build some good fitness, which is plenty of time. How many weeks do you actually need? Six to
Yeah.
eight, you
Especially when you've
know?
been running as long as you have.
Yeah, especially all that base and whatnot. But it's just like I might not be the fittest person. Like on paper, somebody's probably gonna, oh, so and so's fitter, so and so's fitter. And it's like, but I'm gonna be the healthiest, I'm gonna be the happiest, I'm gonna be the freshest, and I'm gonna have a plan, which I've already started developing a plan with my crew, with my nutrition, different things like that. And I'm gonna execute that plan 100%. And it's the same thing that happened last year at Western States. I was not the fittest guy on the line. I can tell you that straight up. I only had an 8-week block to Western States. I was not very fit, but I had all those other things down. I was fresh, I was healthy, I was happy, I had a great crew, I had a great plan. I executed my plan 100%, like had very few mistakes. And look what I did. I ended up third, one of the fastest times ever at Western States. So you don't always have to be the fittest, especially for 100-mile racing, especially something like UTMB that takes 20 hours. Like fitness is rarely the thing that determines that race. It's other things, and I would rather be healthy and fresh than extremely fit at the start line of something like UTMB.
Yeah, and I feel like in this sport, whether it's like sub ultra or longer stuff, I feel like we for some reason there's this like aura of like we need to be tough. Like you got to push through this stuff, you know? And it's just like how do you think we shift this narrative around injury in the sport? Because I feel like so many people ignore things until it's like, well, now I'm out for 2 to 3 years, you know,
Yeah.
instead of just like getting done with it, doing the little things that aren't little things, and like, yeah, being consistent and healthy.
Yeah, I mean, I think we could look at other sports that are a bit more professionalized than our sport. Um, think about those guys in the NBA or cyclists. Cyclists is a prime example. Those guys are constantly getting hurt, and a lot of it's out of their control because they're crashing their bikes. But these dudes, if they have even the slightest injury pop up, what do? They go and take care of it. Yes, and they're getting paid more and different things like that, right? But they take care of themselves, and their teams or their management will not allow them to race if they're not 100% or them to play a game if they are going to compromise their health by playing that game. And we can look at that and be like, look at LeBron James. Everybody talks about LeBron James and how he's this iron giant who never gets hurt and he's been in this sport forever and he's 40 years old. I was actually looking and it's a bit different because it's more of like a impact explosive sport where there's higher risk of injury. But LeBron James has had like 5 or 6 surgeries in his career. Nobody ever talks about those, but that's why he's 40 years old and he's still out playing at such a high level because he decided to take care of his body. He decided to get those surgeries and take care of himself and do those things and sit out some games because that's what was going to make him better for the playoffs or whatever it is. I think we try to rush back into things too much. And also, there's this narrative in our sport with it being trail and ultra that we just got to be tough and we got to be like the guys were back in the 60s and, you know, grit it out and rub some dirt on it and
Shirtless
get
and
through
no
it.
food.
Yeah. And it's just like, come on, guys. Like the sport has changed. It's a different age. And honestly, like you need, like a lot of those guys are not running anymore. Most of those guys aren't running anymore. And a lot of those guys are still in their like 40s and they can't even go out and strap their shoes on and go for an easy run with their partner because they're broken. Who wants to be that? Like, I don't want to be that. I want to be doing this into my 40s and then, running past that into my 50s and doing adventures and maybe doing some through hikes or whatever it is. Like, I want to be having fun with my wife and my kids. And so we need to change that narrative and take care of ourselves. I'm not saying like every little injury, like take 6 months off. No, you need to be real and meet with your physio and your sports med doctor, whoever it is, and consult with them to figure out, what you can do to help treat these things. And if you can or can't run through it. But as long as you're on top of things and you're doing everything that you can to take care of yourself and you still develop an injury, then that's when you probably need to look at things and be like, hey, this is more serious than I think it is, and I need to do something about it. I need to take some time off, or I need to like be okay with it. And you don't need to be, your health is more important than your making your sponsors happy. Your health is more important than lining up for some race. Your health is more important than any of that stuff. And you need to be okay with it and realize that if you are healthy, you will be happy, then you will make your sponsors happy, and everything will be good.
Yeah, when you keep saying healthy and happy in my head, I keep saying and hungry, healthy, happy, and hungry.
Yeah.
Because I think, yeah, like through sustainable training, like you've mentioned multiple times, is having that ability to show up to races, like multiple big races in a row. And I think if you're spending all your cards like in training all the time, it's harder to show up as your best self at races. And a lot of that is being ready to play with the field, have fun with the field, fight with the field, compete, etc. You've mentioned a bunch of times about surrounding yourself with your team. One, who is that? And two, what are the ways that you and your team are planning to keep your training sustainable from now until, UTMB, but also kind of beyond?
Yeah, I think my team's great. And I have a lot of people that I'm not going to mention them all, but I have a lot of mentors and friends and family and crew and everybody is, I mean, I have such a good support system and people reaching out to me all the time, people just coming out of the woodworks. Like I got a message yesterday from some random guy that I really didn't really know that much. And he told me this story about how he had lost his partner to some, disease and how he was running a race at Canyons, I think, one year. And how I had, I like to go back and cheer people on after I finish a race, or if I'm not racing, I just like to go out on the course and cheer people on and help people. And I went out and cheered this guy on and got him through some miles, or not some mile. I don't even know what I did. I just said, good job, way to go, was cheering him on the course. And he like had this experience to where he finished his race this year at Canyons after losing his partner. And he went back out on the course to cheer people on because of the what I had done to him that year and how that had gotten him through that race. And then him having this experience this year actually helped him deal with the grief and things that he was dealing with in his life. So it's community too. Like our community is out there to support us. This was a random message I got on Instagram. So you ask me who my team is, it's everybody. It's the community. But the people closest to me are the ones that are helping me and keeping me accountable. My wife, Ashley, whew, friggin' rock solid, man. Like, it is amazing how much she does for me and our family. I just couldn't do anything without her. Like, honestly, it's just she's everything to me. I have my parents, my brother, I have my coach Robbie Britton. He's done so much for me, like more than I could ever imagine. I have a mentor here in Cedar City who was a professional athlete for many years in the Ironman, and she has been just she's meant so much to me, especially these last few years. And she's helping me because she learned so many things in her career and she is rooting for me and not wanting me to make those same mistakes. So she's sharing her knowledge with me. And I hope to do the same thing for the younger generation, because I think that's how we need to be too, is pass this knowledge down. And that's why I wanted to do this podcast. But also, like, it's my sponsors as well. I think a lot of people are afraid to talk with their sponsors about these things because they're afraid that if they tell their sponsor that they're injured or that they're dealing with something, that sponsor is going to drop them and not want them, and they're afraid of whatever it is. I've always taken the opposite approach. I communicate with my sponsors, with my athlete managers. I told every one of my athlete managers before my surgery what I was getting done, explained to them exactly what I was going to be doing and how this was going to help me. And then after the surgery, I reached back out to them again. I showed them pictures of what had happened, what the doctor had done. I explained everything to them and I communicated with them. And every single one of them was grateful for that, saying, "We would rather have this than you trying to hide this from us because now we know and we can support you." And I got to give a shout out to Hoka, my athlete managers. They encouraged me to get this done. My athlete manager had the same procedure done at Hoka, and he told me his story and explained everything to me about how to do the rehab, how to come back from it. And he was like, "You need to get this done because you have many years to come and we support you in this." AG1, who I recently signed with, which I felt bad because I signed with them and then I literally got injured right after I signed with them. My athlete manager for AG1 has been the most supportive person in the world. She is constantly reaching out to me, encouraging me, giving me words of advice, helping me with that nutrition side, which can be important in the recovery. It's been amazing. Like, all my sponsors have been this way. I was recently with my athlete manager today with Koros, and he was helping me with a bunch of stuff. And man, like, I just think like you need to communicate and you need to like have these relationships with your sponsors because they're there to help you and they want to see you at your best. They don't want to see you lining up for a race injured and then DNFing, you know? What's that do for them? They would rather see you line up at a race healthy and be able to perform how you need to.
Yeah, I feel like if you're more willing to communicate like your long-term approach, it makes more sense for them to come with you on this long-term approach because you're an investment. You've proven that you're successful and that you can still be successful coming back from an injury. So it's great to have that support from like all ends, whether it's the community, your sponsors, any of that stuff.
And there's other ways to help besides racing and
Yeah.
winning races. Like
Oh yeah.
Like I'm going out to Western States with my crew and we're going to have a great time. I'm going to be out on the course bantering with Dan Jones and other people out there, giving him a hard time for running slow. No, no, he'll be running fast. But no, I told Hoka and I told Precision and I told some of these other sponsors that are going to be there, "Hey, I'm available. Use me." So I'll be doing some activation stuff with both of them. I'll be talking at TrailCon. I'll be being active out in the community out there. And there's other ways that you can give back and show your worth. And, this is a job. I get paid to do this. If I can't work by running, at least I can work doing other things. If I'm healthy enough, I'm going to be out there helping set up and tear down and do whatever they need me to do, if that's what they need me to do, because I'm getting paid to do this and this is my job. And I'm not just going to take money for free. Like, I want to give back in any way I can. And if I can't do it through my legs, I will do it through some way.
I love it. Well, so I guess I don't know, Danny, do you have any more like injury specific questions before we
Transition.
or even Hayden, like do you have anything else that you want to cover before we kind of talk about the rest of 2025 and how short trail might play a part in all that?
I just wanted to ask Dani a question because I
Yeah.
really look up to Dani.
Oh.
Dani, I know you've gone through a lot of injuries in your career, different setbacks, different things. I've always looked up to you, to be honest with you. And I just wanted to see like what have you learned through some of your injuries, maybe like your recent injury and like what has helped you get through them?
Honestly, talking with a sports psych this time around was really helpful. I think really identifying that the mind is really important for us, like as runners. And like you said, I think there's the aspect of like physical sustainable training, but I also think there's like the emotional and the mental side of sustainable training. And like you said, showing up happy and then also healthy, just like recapitalizing on that. And yeah, and honestly, regaining confidence in the tools again that aren't physical. Like I've learned that I think what makes me a relatively good runner is I love to compete. And so, like, how can I get back to just that starting line and then the rest will take care of itself? And convincing myself that, like, I can do a lot with not that much. Whereas, to your point, like, having had gotten greedy a couple, if not a handful times in my career, often coming off of a lull, like an injury or something like that, and really challenging myself to have kind of like that litmus test and almost have it something that I can read, like kind of refer back to, because I think often in these lulls, like we start to catalog, oh yes, I'll never forget to do this again. I'll never forget to, roll out. I'll never forget like crying on a long run is a bad thing. And just little things like that, but having like an actual set of tenets for yourself that you can refer to in each training cycle and be like, this is normal, this is not normal, is something that I have learned in this last injury cycle I definitely need. Because sometimes I don't know if you've experienced this, but I'm kind of hard on myself. I'm like, Dan, you already learned this lesson.
Yeah.
Like, why are you learning? It's just packaged a different way, but you've already learned this. And yeah, I think it just goes back to the essence of like trying to be great and playing with that line. Um, so yeah, those are kind of the things I've learned.
Yeah, I love how you talk about like the competitiveness. It's so sweet to be competitive, isn't it?
It's so fun.
Oh, it's so fun. It's so fun. And like, dealing with this injury, it's just made me realize like I can never take advantage of those situations because they're so sweet and they're so amazing. And like being in that zone is just, I crave it. I crave it.
The
And
privilege.
I think like, yeah, showing up hungry is everything. Like
Yeah.
hungry and just excited and happy. And we see it often. Like again, going back to Scotty Scheffler because it's recent. He was injured the first part of this year. He'd come off the best golf season ever in 2024. Got injured because he said he got a bit greedy with his training again the first part of this year. He started the year off pretty slow, but he was gradual. He was smart with how he built back, and he was pretty gradual. And everybody was like, the media is always going to be like, oh, Scotty's not as good as he used to be, right? Literally, it was 3 months ago that he was winning the biggest golf event in the world, and 3 months later, he's not as good as he used to be. But anyways, he gradually built back, built through the season, got his fitness back, and now he wins the PGA Championship, one of the biggest golf events ever, you know. And it's just like, I think a lot of us, and you see this a lot in sport, I know I've seen it with me. My best performances usually come off of a break or an injury or something. And I get excited and hungry to race again, knowing that. And yeah, it's just, I think it's pretty common to see that.
Yeah.
Some forced rest.
For stress. And also, like we've talked about, I think in different ways, but just like erasing that stigma of, injuries happen. The best line I heard as soon as I got my diagnosis this time around was, "Welcome to the club."
Yeah.
And it's like
Yeah.
everyone gets injured. It's
Yep.
it's like it feels kind of for some people it can feel a little shameful like making that Instagram post and like finally telling people like cat's out of the bag, like I'm out, but I don't know. It's
What do
just
we expect, right? Like we're literally playing
throwing
with fire. We're
you're
running in
literally
mountains that we can't control. The
yeah,
mountain has its own mind. It can do whatever the heck it wants to do, and we have literally zero control, you know? And it's just kind of like, and when you're, especially when you're chasing that greatness, you're also playing with more fire. And I
yeah,
think like you said, everybody, including brands, including every media, whoever, they need to realize that injury is going to be part of this sport. And that's just common sense. That's just what it is, you know?
Yeah,
yeah,
especially like just the more competitive everything becomes, like we're all pushing ourselves further than we would have maybe if we had been in the sport like 10 years ago. And it's just, yeah, I mean,
totally.
even somebody like myself who I have had a relatively injury-free, career, like I didn't run for 2 weeks before Black Canyon because all of a sudden, like I had something pop up that I couldn't train through. And I was like, well, catches up with all of us again eventually, welcome to the club.
And then absolutely crushed it at Black Canyon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm friends with Connor Mance, who's the American record holder, right, in the marathon. Do you know
Hmm.
before his American record, he had to take like I think it was like 2 or 3 weeks off. Same
Not
thing.
surprising.
Then he went and broke the American record. Like, and that's marathoning where fitness is a little bit more important,
Everything.
like
Yeah.
quite a bit more important than in a long ultra trail race, you know? So
Yeah, but he's also someone I don't know him. I mean, you know him, but like it's like his dog has a lot of fight. And like more
legend.
times his dog has a huge amount of fight. You could see it on his face, like, and you could tell he loves it. And it's like if
Yep.
you can let that dog show up well fed, ready to rumble, then that will do more times good
And
than
again, Connor is the most level-headed, calm dude you'll ever meet. Like
that's it.
nothing gets to him. He's just so calm under every like situation. It's crazy. Like he's just such a kind person and just a person you want to be around because you just feel like you feel the love and you feel the calmness and you feel the peace when you're around him. And but then he knows how to get that dog out when he needs to. But it's just like he has that balance, that really good balance.
Yeah. I feel like I almost feel like we need to make like a bullet point list of like all the important things that we've covered today. And like in my head, it's like happy, healthy, hungry. We're a big part of this. Communication. You got to communicate with the people on your side, your coaches, your spouse, your community, whatever it is, so that you are having a sustainable, time. Sustainability. And there are no little things. I don't know. Do you guys have anything else that like
That covered a lot of them. Yeah.
Yeah, know your signs, I think is really
Yeah.
important. Like
Yeah.
it's not on like the optimistic note, but yeah, knowing the signs and building that team around you that can help hold you accountable. Because if they know how much you love what you're doing, whether it's sport or something else, then they will want to help you.
And also realizing that you're not the only person going through it because I think sometimes we feel that way when we're in the moment. But like Dani, I reached out to you, to get on this podcast, but also I wanted to talk to you about your injury and what you've gone through and knowing like, yeah, Dani's gone through this. She knows she's going through it right now. She's building back right now, and it's like my last injury, Adam Peterman was going through a massive injury and he helped me get through that moment. And then we shared that amazing experience at CCC together, and there's
Yeah.
always somebody out there and being willing to reach out because most of the time these people are willing to help and they're willing to talk because we all need a friend and we all need to talk to somebody and it feels good to talk to people and to have those conversations.
Yeah. Community is huge. I mean, I think obviously I'm going through something different, like a break
No, you
time,
have your
obviously, that was
community
like
though.
choice. Yeah, that was like a choice that I made, but like having people like Rachel Drake and Leah Yingling in my corner at this time, like I think I reached out to Rachel Drake before I told like my parents that I was pregnant because I was so just like distraught about how I felt. And just like, being able to ask somebody who'd been there, like, is this normal, is so helpful.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
one more thing, sorry, and then we can move on.
No,
Another
no,
thing
you're
is not
good.
being too hard on yourself because we
Yeah.
all make mistakes.
Yeah.
I was very hard on myself when I first got injured. And I was like, again, Hayden, what the heck? Are you stupid? Have you not learned from the previous things? Like, and I was just like, this is your fault. And I was blaming myself. And a lot of it was my fault. But I was tearing myself down and blaming myself. And I had my mentor, I went out for a hike with her. And she's like, I went through similar things in my career. She's like, don't be too hard on yourself. She said, yes, it was your mistake. And you need to be accountable to that and realize that, yes, you made a mistake, but don't tear yourself down. That's not going to help you. Be positive, be happy, laugh about it. And so that's what I did. And when I started being more positive and laughing about it and like kind of being like, ah, ha, ha, this was my fault. Like I actually started healing faster. I started feeling better. And I started actually like being able to have some fun. Like, and I realized that, yeah, like sport is great and is a big part of my life, and running is a big part of my life, but it's not everything. There's other ways to have fun and find balance, like spending time with my dad. Like me and my dad just bought a fishing boat, and we're gonna go do a fishing competition this weekend
I love that.
out on the local reservoir, and it's going to be fun. Like, yes, I'm not at Western States Training Camp, which I was supposed to be there and having fun with everybody out there, but I'm going to go out to go and have these experiences with my dad in a fishing competition, and hopefully we can catch the biggest trout and win the $1,000 for first place. If
Let's go.
not,
I was gonna
we're
say
going to have
Danny's
some
jealous of
memories,
this.
Last time I got hurt, I went hunting with my dad, and I was able to help him. And these are stories that we still share with each other today. And like, these are like experiences that were like, that's not running at all, but they're these happy moments in my life that I would never take back.
Yeah, doing the most with what you can do and not focusing on what you can't do is a huge step for anyone who's dealing with injury or kind of in a lull. And to your point, yeah, like we all make mistakes. We're human. And, what made us made that mistake is probably also a characteristic of ourself is what makes us incredible at other things. There's always like two sides to the story. So yeah, we're glad you're in that optimistic mindset and looking at all the positives. And I hope you freaking get that trout. That would be sick. Uh, um, as this is the Sub Hub podcast, we did kind of want to finish off. MK and I, huge fans of the fact that you still freaking crank 50Ks out and do shorter distance races. And you don't just crank them out, more times than not, you're winning them. And we kind of have been highlighting this transition of athletes who have been focused on shorter distance races for so long, starting to go up in distance and finding near immediate success, i.e., MK has gotten two golden tickets, Tony McCann wins CCC, Francesco Pupi just crushed Canyon's 100K. And we just think it's so cool that you are such a versatile athlete. And so, for our sub ultra fans out there, or just 50K and below, like, why do you still do shorter distance races considering, you're on the podiums of some of the biggest ultras in the world?
Because they're fun and they make me better, you know, and they don't beat me up as bad either. I can do more of them, which is always a plus. Um, But yeah, like I ran my fastest 50K of my entire career in February at Tarawara 50K. I didn't know that was possible, to be completely honest. I thought Robbie Simpson was going to wipe the floor with me. Um, and we had a great race. I was able to actually hold my own and battle it out with him. And we, had a lot of just, it was fun. It was really fun pushing each other and running fast. I mean, I think I went through 50K in like 3:11 on like a trail with not a ton of vert, but a decent amount of vert. And yeah, that was cool. It was so cool. And it was like exciting. And I recovered super fast from it. I was able to like get back into training, too much training, but get back into training pretty close after. But yeah, like it makes me better. Like, and I enjoy it. And I will continue to do 50Ks because I don't think you need, me and my coach were talking about this the other day, is like a lot of people try and do these massive like 100Ks before they go and do 100 miles. And they think like, oh, it's part of the building process. But why do you need that long of a run to get ready for a 100 miler, especially if it's like 6 weeks out or 4 weeks out or something, you don't. That's only going to fatigue you and make you tired. Go out and run a fast 50K and have fun and build some fitness off of that. That's only going to take you 3 to 5 hours. Well, someone like me, it's going to take them 3 to 5 hours. That's a good long run, and
And way less risk.
way less risk. Exactly. And it also, yes, you just recover so much quicker from it. So yeah, I'll continue to do those and I'll probably use those as building into my ultras and probably dabble down into some 30Ks every now and then too, like it's fun to run fast and I don't know, I enjoy it.
I love it. And obviously, like your build up to UTMB will be a little bit shorter. Do you have any plans to run like a 50K or something short trail prior to UTMB? Or is that just going to be kind of like a play it by ear
Yeah,
situation?
we will see. We will see
Yeah.
how the knee reacts and recovers. Right now, it's going great. I'm recovering extremely fast. Uh, yeah, I think I'll recover quicker than I thought, which should hopefully give me a good build to UTMB, and I could potentially throw a 50K in there, maybe even a 30K. I got my eye on two potentially. I thought about going back to Sierra Zanell potentially.
Ooh,
It's close to
yeah.
where we stay there, and it's an easy drive over, and it's a fun race. Or potentially the Monte Rosa UTMB race, which is over in the Aosta Valley. My buddy is the race director for that, so he's been wanting to get me out to that one. And it has more of the profile of UTMB, and it's like a 40K or 43K or something.
Yeah, that
So
one's pretty steep.
yeah, that one looks fun. It's in Gressony.
Yeah.
Looks amazing. I do have desires to do Tour de Gent someday, you know. So that's part of the Tour de Gent area. Maybe get some little experience there. But I want to be good from literally 5K, which I did in college, and I felt like I was pretty decent at, to 200 milers.
Oof.
I just love this sport. I love moving in the mountains, and I want to be able to say, "Hey, I've won a race in almost every distance," And I think it's cool to like be able to say that and just also have fun with it. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens in the build. Yeah, if it's going to compromise my health, I won't do it. But UTMB is the main goal.
So it sounds like a UTMB and Mammoth 200 double this year. So
I do want to do Mammoth 100% someday. Not this year.
Yeah.
But yes, no, I'll probably do some 50Ks in the fall. The good thing about this injury is now I can maybe race a bit more in the fall and have some fun at some races that I've never got to do before. Like looking at probably going out to Asia and
Oh,
competing in
sick.
some races out there, which I've always wanted to go to Asia and family's always wanted to go to Asia. So maybe we'll take part in some of that stuff. And the North American majors at Kodiak this year, which is only like a 5 hour drive for us. So maybe I'll think about doing that one as well.
I was about to say Kodiak for sure because I think that's gonna be a fun field. Just kind of hearing the rustling and
Yeah.
uh yeah, hearing who may
But
show
it's
up
only
to the
6 weeks after UTMB. So it would
yeah.
definitely, and
Could
I
be
would,
rough.
I would only do the 50K at Kodiak. So it'd be like, yeah, can I do a 50K 6 weeks, a completely different 50K 6 weeks after UTMB? We'll see. We'll see how the body responds. It might be a good way to wake up the body and kind of get it going again after UTMB. So like I'll definitely have the fitness, like just recover and maintain a bit after UTMB and then sharpen up just a little bit, get some of that leg speeded back in and just have some fun.
That'd be super cool. Yeah, I mean, bringing it back to the beginning, like there's racing all the time. And yeah, if you don't race in the spring, you can race till the end of the year and into next year, which is all good.
But also like paying attention to how your body feels and not forcing things. And that's
Totally. Yeah.
kind of going forward. That's the plan, is to not force things and yeah, just be smart.
Yeah. Should take the own advice that you gave at the beginning of this podcast and apply it to the rest of the year. Uh,
Exactly.
Cool. Well, Hayden, thank you so much for joining us today. We know people are going to love just having the insights of, dealing with injury, making such a big decision before what was presumably an A race. Any other comments you want to make before we come off of this?
No, thank you guys, and thanks for all you do to this for the sport. Like are you racing? What are you racing this year, Dani?
I have Broken Arrow next, which will be part of a build to CCC. In July, I'm doing an FKT here
Yeah.
on the east side. And yeah, CCC, and we'll go after that. Like, I want to do Kodiak, but I also want to respect this effort. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let me know if you have any questions about CCC. I think I know a little bit about that race.
Well,
So I can
funny
definitely
enough.
give you some tips and yeah, it's a good race. I love that race. It's one of my favorites. So but yeah, good luck with everything and thanks again for having me on. Again, if anybody's dealing with like injury or whatnot, and they just, yeah, you can reach out to me. I'm here. I would love to help the best that I can and can't respond to everybody, but I'll do the best that I can. And I think we can all help each other in this sport and in this world and make the world a better place that way. So, but yeah, thanks again for having me on and take care, guys.
Yes, thank you so much. And I hope that your recovery continues to be speedy. This has been the Sub Hump Podcast.